take me back to the beginning, like when you were first approached with this concept of adding the piano support to Rocksmith Plus.
It was really exciting. When we first started, right away we realized that the Rocksmith Noteway is really great for the format of piano. It's just that Noteway is really good at showing time. The piano just being a linear instrument, it doesn't have some of the complications of stacking and notes and stuff. So it was really exciting to start figuring out what we wanted to do there. Some of the complications we had were like the repeating patterns of colors on the keys and deciding what types of signs of feedback we would give for the consumer to like be able to know where their hands were at any given time. It was a lot of challenges, but a lot of fun.
So you saw the Rocksmith Noteway and you decided that instead of just putting, I guess, like different notes, like more colored blocks, you decided to totally start from ground zero in terms of still like within the Rocksmith Plus universe per se, but like with an actual like piano one-to-one representative interface.
Yeah, so like if you take a single octave for piano, you have 7 white keys, 5 black keys. And we had looked at different methods of trying to assign a color to spatial, so you had an idea of where your spatial awareness was, where you're supposed to press and when. And what we had tried, like things like coloring your fingers, like the bricks and the keys lighting up to what like the finger you're supposed to learn or use. And we found that if we were playing these bigger songs in this Noteway experience, you would quickly, like if your index finger was green, you would quickly like have green here and then green here, and it just really gave you no spatial awareness whatsoever. So we started really deducing down like a simple idea of user orientation, so providing signs and feedback and color theory to alert the user exactly where their hands are supposed to go. So if you take that single octave from a piano and you have like a C that's red, well, you know that it's not necessarily just the C. There could be, you know, if you have a C sharp or a D flat, well, the C sharp, right, or the key that's just to the right of the C, the black key, that's going to be that off color of red always, regardless of the note name. And the reason for that is that if you took the note names off the keys and you didn't know how to read music, you didn't know what a note name is, that red is always going to be in that position in that octave. So you can quickly deduce where your hand is supposed to go. Once you start adding things like key labels and this, it gets a little more complex, but we hope that you already have that color information down so that you can see a red and you automatically know with the octave number exactly where your hand's supposed to go. So it was really all about like lowering the bar to entry as much as possible by providing signs and feedback wherever we could to show you where your hand goes.
So there's like a fine line you have to skirt with something like this where you could give too much information, overload the player, so you kind of have to use like kind of like color responses. So like when you have the left hand and the right hand, like that type of like instantly brain triggering. It's like, oh, okay, I see that, so
right.
It's this hand. And then you see the colors and you're like, oh, okay, it's this finger.
When a player is starting to pick up an instrument and learn it, there's a vulnerability there. It's not just playing a video game, they're learning an instrument. There's already the anxiety of this. It's a new language, it's a new thing that they're interacting with. So the whole experience for most people is new. And so we want to try to like simplify that experience as much as possible. So symbols are like a color recognition is a little bit more easy to understand or to identify as positional awareness than symbols all over the place. So if it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and A, B, C, D, E, F, you know, it would be a lot of these different types of symbols that are all clashing, a lot of visual noise. So we wanted to try to simplify it with colors as much as possible. I'm just curious, like you have a rhythm game background.
Yes.
So for piano and the Noteway, is there anything that really draws your like attention to that you like or dislike strongly?
When I play Rocksmith, I definitely, there's a lot of like monkey brain type of things, like I see colors and I press them. But what I find, what happens to me personally is the things get burned into my brain, so I can visualize the Noteway, like in my mind palace, I guess we'll call it. So when it came time, when I actually encountered a piano in the wild, I was able to play Love Will Tear Us Apart because I could see a general like representation in my mind of like where that lick is, and it wasn't perfect, but it was more than I could play before October. Do you have a rhythm game background?
I have a background in rhythm games as far as that I am one of 5 brothers and a sister, and we would play some of the more popular rhythm games and fight over controllers in Christmas during our childhood type things. And also during the development of the Rocksmith Plus, the trips I made over to Osaka, actually did play a lot of the rhythm games in the arcades there. Like there's a drum one, there's the big piano one.
It's the one where it's like a theremin.
Yeah,
the air piano.
Oh man, it's like, yeah. So I became a fan of that sort of connecting music in a gamified way in that regard. Also, there's other rhythm games that aren't necessarily instrument based that I've always found really intriguing because music is so powerful, right? Like if you are playing the right song and the right, chord chart's been, or the right, chart is there in front of you to where you can, music helps you kick into a flow state.
Yeah, I was about to say a flow state, yeah.
And then we have and that's what I think that some of the early stuff, like with this, the art design that we were doing for this, was like, when I was doing the early research for like that sort of like ethereal backgrounds and stuff, really it's like the hope was that we could use music, use the colors of the note way, and use that ethereal background to help trigger flow states. And that's really, I think, the power of rhythm games, is that like there's an aspect to it that, like, especially Rocksmith Plus, it helps you learn, right? So that's very difficult. But it's also, if you're playing something you know and something you love, it's meditative,
yes.
And it becomes like this, like it helps you with anxiety, it helps you with like any sort of like issues you're having in that regard to like kind of bring you back to a center, because we all know how powerful music is. You add on top of that the success of playing the notes in correlation, now you're just like you're feeling good about yourself. So I think it's a very powerful mechanic to help with positivity, or like at least centering oneself. And that's just me personally, like that's just how I look at it. And I think that's why some of the old rhythm games were very powerful.
And that's why they made so many fans of their music, because that connection and that feeling, the flow state that you get locked into when you kind of like you're like so zoned in that like no, you're not even paying attention to what's happening.
But that's the beauty, dude.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the beauty of Rocksmith, is that you said is like you enter that, but also you go out and play that piano and you could see it. And so you're taking these, like you're taking it with you instead of it just being a standoff with your hanging out with your brothers or friends or whatever and playing it,
Yeah, it's like the jamming with people and taking those motifs and things that you've encountered in other people's music and incorporating it into your own music. Yeah.
I think with our game and just music in general, it's just a really special thing to be able to interact with music in a way that you are learning an instrument, you're playing your favorite song, and you have this sort of gamified experience. And it's like, I don't know, I think it's a unique experience, and I think if you look at it in the right mindset for what it is and how you can grow with it, it's I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I get really excited about like music in that regard, like in interacting with an instrument and having these visuals. It's just kind of a culmination of a lot of passions of mine.
Has your Spotify liked list diversified a bit since you started working on Rocksmith Plus?
No, so River Flows in You, like I started playing that, and then I just like got hooked on that type of music, and I've just been listening to a lot of more mellow piano-driven sounds, and actually incorporating it into a lot of my like animations I do or artwork I do. So it's like been interesting to see not only sort of like my musical taste grow, but also like it inspire some of the art I do on the side as well. So
I didn't think I would catch myself singing in the Irish pop band The Script, but it's happened more times than I would have ever thought. So
that's awesome. I think that is the draw point of piano too. It's like we were talking earlier. It's like the bar of entry is a little bit lower, and you just end up playing songs not because you are attached to them musically, but because they're just fun to play.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, and it was really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to the future of Rocksmith Plus piano.
No, thank you for coming, and thank you for all the support too. You guys are awesome, and watching you play has been just a joy, and we really appreciate like all the positivity and also all the ideas and criticisms you've given. Like, let's build this thing as a community. Thank you.